Okay, what is going on, guys? So, over the weekend, the reason there was a batch recording was because I was going to visit Buffalo, New York, at the Buffalo and Erie County Naval and Military Park. As you can see here, I'm standing on, in this picture, I'm standing on the bow or near the bow of the USS Little Rock, which is the cruiser they have on display there. And I just thought that'd be a pretty cool background picture to get it started off. And the rest of these are going to be pretty much in sequence of what you'll see when you get there. So starting off right here, you can actually, this is the parking lot, you can actually see the bridge of the cruiser from the parking lot, so that's pretty cool. And now,
just cruising by us.
I have this extra little video here
cool.
of some Coast Guard ships.
Coast Guard cutters are pretty well armed.
That, these were pretty cool.
They had one down at Charleston, South Carolina museum where the aircraft carrier was.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I seem to remember that. But... And up next over here is actually a cutaway of the inside of an old steam kind of ship, so that was pretty neat. And this is looking out the window from the building. You can actually see the height difference between the destroyer and the cruiser's hull at the stern. And this is a P-39 fighter plane that they had hanging from the ceiling here. Here's another angle of it, and in a second we'll see an actual little plaque of it that we'll talk more about it. And there that is. And by the way, you guys might want to pause the video sometimes and read some of these things. If you're interested. This is a huge model. There's my dad standing there. A huge model of an aircraft carrier that actually had a paddle wheel on the side, as you can see in that picture there. And this was a training aircraft carrier stationed in the Great Lakes that would actually, I think it was stationed in the Great Lakes. I don't have time to read that, but yeah, it was a training aircraft carrier. Here's a cutaway of the P-39 aircraft. Not a cutaway, a little picture. And this is actually cool. So the plane that they have in the museum was found like that, in that state of disrepair. Here's a good picture of it. That's how they found the plane originally, and they restored it to put it in the museum there. And this is inside of the gift shop there. There's a cutaway of the U.S.S. the Sullivans. Neat, and it's made out of metal too. And here's one for the submarine. They didn't have one for the cruiser, unfortunately. And then across the street, well, I shouldn't say across the street, next to the main museum, they had this other little part of the museum, and they had a little gyrocopter there. That was pretty cool. Another Fletcher Class Destroyer model just beneath that. And up above it here, this is actually a mine layer. Seems to be based very similarly, or based heavily on the Gearing class, and there's a picture of all three models stacked next to each other, but that's actually a mine layer in the middle there. Huey type helicopter, of course, outside next to the ships. There's this big PT boat they have, and this is actually some kind of Norwegian PT boat. You can see it has a ton of damage on the side of the hull there, which is why it's not in the water, and you're not allowed to go on it, but very, very cool PT boat. And this is standing on the destroyer. Later on we got a better picture of the top of it. So, and this is actually a submarine periscope according to the sign, and it's, as you can see, it's very long, sitting underneath the PT boat there. Did not know those were that long. We have a 3-inch gun in front of a missile of some sort there, so that was pretty awesome. An M48 Patton tank, pretty cool stuff. This over here was actually it's actually an amphibious vehicle known as the Duck. I think it's DUKW is actually what their real name is. And then there's this this one fighter jet here. I cannot remember. I don't know what type that is. I'm not sure if someone could figure that out. But this is standing on the destroyer, just looking down the side of it. Just thought that would be kind of neat. Took a picture of the mast of the main forward mast of the destroyer, the USS the Sullivans, and here's another little shot looking at the side of it and some stairs and stuff. And this is when you go inside, you actually see a little radar and plotting room inside here. And up near the bow, standing next to the forwardmost 5-inch gun turret. And this is actually beneath the number 2 turret. This is like just one level below the number 2 turret inside of here. So this was kind of the last stop for ammunition before it was taken straight up to the gun. A neat little picture on the wall there of how intricate this actually was. And there's a picture from the bow of the destroyer, or at least as far up to the bow as that would allow us to go without chains and stuff. And here's another little room here. This appears to be fire control, according to that thing there. Some more ammunition handling right nearby. Those yellow pieces there are actually the powder charges for the shells that you can see in the bottom right of that last picture. So, pretty neat stuff. That was actually a damage control center, and also where they would operate the giant winch for the anchors. And this video here, I wasn't talking, so there was some background noise. But this was just a big wall of commemorating destroyers and what they did throughout the war, which was pretty awesome. There were some cool pictures here. Wasn't trying to get any kind of particular message, just a really cool wall of photographs. This was an emergency diesel generator on board the destroyer, and there was this little room with a window in it, and it had all of these planes, model planes sitting there. And as far as I remember from the sign, I think it was actually something similar to this table would have been set up in that room as a spotter's kind of guide. And then there's this guy on the this mannequin on a cable between the two ships, how they would transfer rescued pilots. This is cool here. This is the Hedgehog anti-submarine rocket system. I don't know if they're technically rockets or what you'd call them, but they would launch all of these things. There's like 24 of them. There's 6 rows of 4, and they would launch all these things into the water. And it's the concept of throw enough crap at the wall, and some of it's going to stick, and then here's where they're stored in these gigantic boxes right next to the actual launchers themselves. So pretty cool stuff. This is from inside the bridge, looking down towards the bow. You can see kind of both 5-inch guns. This is actually one of the gun directors above the bridge that I was just standing in there. And in a second here, yep, there's a plaque, a little informational plaque about the gun director there. So that was pretty neat to see. Here's the sonar room, which was pretty cool. A lot of stuff was kind of blocked off, but yeah, a surprising amount of stuff was blocked off, to be honest. But still got to see a lot of cool things here. The bridge was also there. Well, the main bridge, like where the actual ship was, steered and everything, where they would steer the ship and everything else, can send orders down to the engine room about what to do with the engines. And I think I'm trying to remember where that was. I can't remember. Some 40mm Bofors here, 2-gun 40mm Bofor mounts here, or twin Bofor mounts on the destroyer amidships, and some torpedoes there, not far off from the Bofors. And this here, I was standing like pretty much right next to this thing. I just wanted to be able to get a sense of scale of how big these guns are. Short little video. There's the last turret on the back there. And this is the engine room. This is insane. This is a destroyer, not a cruiser.
I can build this thing piece by piece. You build it in the ship or what? It's like.
And then a picture of someone lighting off the boilers there, which is pretty cool. And then I have a couple pictures about the way the steam system would actually work. I have 2 pictures in a row here, just to see if one might be slightly better than the other. I couldn't decide which one to put up, so went ahead and put both of them in there. And then moving more through the ship, we have some other really cool models of various destroyers and destroyer escorts and things like that, which was pretty cool to see. There's a destroyer escort 438 there. That's a Arleigh Burke class destroyer right there, according to the sign anyways. I don't know how accurate the model is because I don't know the Arleigh Burke class off the top of my head, but
Look at this.
oh wow, yep.
This is where the nobody can sleep. The nobodies with the real important jobs.
Yeah, the quote-unquote nobodies that
And there's going to be more bunks behind
give
this
ammo
thing.
to the ship.
Yeah. Ammo and keep the motors and stuff running. There's 3 more bunks here.
USS Porter. What kind of ship is that?
Oh, it's got 4.
It's funny looking.
Oh, DP. It says DD.
Yeah. Is that what Porter class? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I guess so. Huh. That's different.
Interesting.
I think it's a warship gunner.
Oh, is it?
Glass, yeah, I think so.
So a neat little room there. This is actually a depth charge launcher, and just on the other side of the depth charges there, you can actually see the mechanism that would launch the depth charges. We have a twin 20mm mount right there. We have, I'm trying to remember where all of this stuff is. Oh, inside of one of the 5-inch guns, I believe. Yes, we got go inside of one of the 5-inch gun turrets and look at the inside of that. So that was pretty cool to see. That is where you would actually be standing on that black platform as a spotter, looking out of a little scope on top of the turret, which is pretty neat. And if you look closely near where the back of that shell casing is, you can see a lot of dings of where all the shell casings would always go. From the destroyer, looking at the cruiser, just a neat shot of the superstructure and some other things on there. Now we're finally on the cruiser, the USS Little Rock, looking at the missile launcher on the back, the Talos cruise missile, or not cruise missile, I guess, but Talos missile. And this is inside of the handling room. They had a neat little cutaway you could look through with a mannequin standing there. Another little cutaway with some glass overlooking some more of the platforms where people would be standing, operating machinery and whatnot. Some of the loading racks for the giant black rail there is where the missile would actually be fed out to the launcher, and there's a would-be missile in waiting there. And this is actually a little sign that describes the loading process of the missiles. If I've been saying rockets, I apologize. I know they're missiles. These are the storage racks for the missiles. Tons and tons. They could carry up to 50 missiles. Some damage control stations here. And this is actually coming up, starting right here, basically. This is a room dedicated to cruisers, I believe. Oh, wait, not yet. Not yet. Never mind. That's a little bit later. We got some berthing quarters here. This was the Chief Petty Officer's berthing quarters. So, I don't know if berthing quarters is right, but, yeah, missile warhead handling room there. 2 different pictures of that. This is coming up here is the cruiser dedicated room, and this is actually an Alaska class battle cruiser, or large cruiser as the designation goes. But here in a second there will actually be a video about it, a little video clip. Alaska class battle cruiser.
Armament. Yes, we did. 9 8-inch guns and then 4 5-inch.
Look at this Beaufort right up here on the bow.
That's nuts.
This is the U.S.S. Guam. And in the same room right behind us was this next little video of a model aircraft carrier, Independence class aircraft carrier.
If you launched from a catapult, then when it came back, it would land in the water and then be hoisted aboard with a crane. That's what the cranes are for. But the catapult was to get it going fast enough that it would stay up. Yeah, I'm just looking at this. It looks like it's the same ship, just rebuilt. Yeah.
There's a little bit of information about the USS Langley.
And this was the
the Independence class version, obviously, not the original Langley. But yep. These are the ships those other two were talking about earlier.
Does it say what class this is?
Yeah. Well, this one's a heavy cruiser. This is a guided missile cruiser.
No, not that, but I mean what class of ship.
Same power, but they still would have masts. One thing,
I guess not.
you have to have coal for this.
And this is the same ship but modernized
If you were
with
too far
missiles and whatnot.
For too long a period of time, you run out of coal. So they still had masts just in case. Yeah. But they might even use masts if they have the good ones just to come.
So that was pretty cool. This is just a little thing about different cruiser designations. And in one of the other rooms, they had this neat little picture of an Iowa class next to another type of destroyer there. And obviously, they're not on the same scale. This believed to be like a USS, or not USS, a Gearing class destroyer there. A neat little diorama of two Yorktown class aircraft carriers being escorted by a group, which show here.
The reflections.
I think it's a pretty good. Two Yorktown class aircraft carriers escorted by some destroyers and a cruiser in the middle. It's hard to see, but some aircraft. So this is the. Hold on. And this is hang on. Dad's gonna press the button. So here we go.
Ready?
Yep. No, maybe not. Okay, well this is the conversion of the USS Little Rock from its World War II configuration to the modern configuration. And they literally took everything but that forward 6-inch turret off and put it all back again with a lot of different stuff. There goes the 5-inch on the front. A whole bunch of radar pieces and superstructure pieces. And there it is.
I'll get the beginning.
Yeah, so there's what it used to look like. And yeah, they stripped it pretty good. And this is actually inside or below the I believe it's below the twin 5-inch mount that is on board the ship. And there's from the cruiser looking at the front of the destroyer. That's a pretty awesome picture there, pretty good angle. This is standing next to the 6-inch turret, looking up towards the bow. My finger was kind of in front of the camera a little bit there. I apologize for that. But this is standing in the same place, looking back at the bridge and the 5-inch gun mount there. Looking over the side to the submarine, the USS Croaker, which was actually closed off for the day. We could not go inside, but the conning tower, as you can see, is very, very large, and I'll have some better pictures of the conning tower later on. And this is standing on the bow, pretty much the very, very bow. It was not changed off, looking back. And then looking at the bow of the USS Croaker, I noticed it had kind of a funny shape on the front there. It has a weird like recurve. And here's the picture from the beginning of the video, because I think it best represents the awe moment of the day. And this is actually inside the 6-inch turret.
5-inch and
Yeah,
6, you know?
it's only one more gun and they're only 1 inch bigger, but
That's a big shell when it's loaded, dude.
Yeah.
Assembled? That's crazy. That's gotta be almost 5 feet long. I can't imagine those 8-inch shells. I want to go see the ship bad. It'd be a definite overnight trip. Wow. That's cool. I remember coming over here the last time we came.
might have been closed off, but I was too young to remember.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's so low.
And this is back outside now. So inside of that turret was pretty complicated, but back outside, standing next to the 5-inch gun mount, and this is actually that little window you saw in the last picture. The sun was not cooperating with us, and we couldn't see very well inside of the windows on the side of that turret. But this is at the helm of the USS Little Rock here. Pretty cool. You have the wheel of the ship there. little radar, not radar, map plot. Basically, the ship would be at the center, and they would use that last plot there to map where everything else was relative to their own ship. Little compass there, looking out from the bridge over the bow of the ship, and we'll get another good shot. So this is pretty cool. This is a chaff rocket launcher, and I'll see a picture of the actual launcher in a second here. There it is. So pretty neat thing, a lot bigger than you might expect it to be. And then again, this is a nice little angle of the destroyer here. Got some pretty cool shots of that. So and this is the storage locker for those chaff rockets. They were very long rockets, much longer than you might think, and that was right behind the little wall. Looking up at some of the superstructure of the USS Little Rock, and one of the gun directors there on board the Little Rock. So pretty cool stuff there. Looking at the stern of the USS Croaker, just to get a picture of what that looks like above the water. This is actually above the bridge where we were before. A little navigation area with a compass and lookouts, and then again looking down on the bow from a little bit higher now. And then another good shot of the superstructure and radar up top there. This is actually either a lifeboat or it would be the Admiral's boat. This ship was actually a flagship for its fleet, so there was actually an admiral on board most of the time. This is where the signal flags would actually be. Wanted to show that because it's a little more intricate than most people think. This was another lifeboat on the starboard side. The last one was on the port side. This is on the starboard side of the boat, and more pictures of the smokestack there you can see in the slight foreground there. And more of the superstructure as well. And this giant pole to my left is actually a crane for the lifeboats that would be able to swing out. Here's the crane hook, and I put my foot in there just for scale. But that is an absolutely massive hook. Little anti-submarine mortar. The launcher was not present. I assume that the launcher was taken off in the refit. This is actually on the submarine now, next to the conning tower. My dad's standing there for scale, and backed up even farther to get a wider shot of that. And as you can see, this conning tower is significantly bigger than you might expect it to be. There's the bow of the cruiser, looking at it from the deck of the Croaker. And like I said, the Croaker was actually closed off. We went back through one more time real quick because there was some stuff on the cruiser that we missed. But another cool shot of the PT boat. Some more cool shots of some gun directors and whatnot on the destroyer. Those are the 3-inch guns, twin 3-inch gun mounts on the destroyer. I took a picture of these from the cruiser because you could actually get pretty high, relatively high, to get a nice shot of that.
Just a raw firepower of those things.
This was inside the cruiser, the part that we missed earlier.
Really good model of the ship. Silver paint on the barrels and stuff there.
Good detail.
Really well done model, and another cool diorama here.
This is not an American carrier here, whatever that is.
Oh, there was a ship here that got taken off.
That's an IO class right there.
Oh, another carrier.
Yeah, that's not an American carrier either.
I love the detail on these
Looks like
aircraft
some Nimitz
carriers.
class.
So
A bunch of
tiny,
them.
but so detailed.
Another IO class battleship there and there. It's not completely symmetrical. There's another one of those weird little carriers.
I don't know what these little aircraft carriers
I have
are.
no idea what kind of
think you guys
carrier that
have
is. Never seen anything like that before. And then there's all this stuff. There's some submarines there. And then these weird looking ships. If my camera would focus. I don't know what that is. Focus, please. Back up a little bit. Or better yet, if I come down here, yeah, I have no, yeah, I'll leave that one up to my viewers, they'll figure it out. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I had no idea what that thing was. I'm sure you guys can figure it out. Like I said at the end there, you guys are pretty good about doing that. So those were some 6-inch shells on the side of the 6-inch turret, and this is some other things you see along the path to the main building where you buy your tickets and actually get on the ships. So pretty cool stuff here. As we were walking along, I also took another picture of the submarine's conning tower there with the cruiser's bow in the background as well. And this is actually, if you pause the video here, you'll see there's kind of a torpedo bulge, it looks like, on the cruiser. It kind of re-slopes outwards. Almost makes it look like there's a torpedo bulge. Given that we couldn't go inside of the submarine, I actually decided to just go ahead and take some pictures of the outside at the very least, so we have some pictures of the submarine. I think they were doing some maintenance on it, which is why it was blocked off from being able to go inside. But this is looking at the bow of all three of the ships there. You can see the destroyer in the back, the cruiser on the right, and the submarine in the front left with its weird bulgy bow. This is actually a Vietnam memorial here near the entrance of the park on our way out. Short video, a little panoramic video of it real quick. And this giant anchor with the name of the park there. And then on the very either on the way in or the way out, you'll also see this in front of the main building. It's a different kind of submarine conning tower. As you can see, this was while we were leaving. I only noticed this after the fact, but I decided to snap a couple pictures, and that was it. That's most of the pictures I took while we were there. So I hope that was pretty cool for you guys to see and check out. If you guys know what those other two types of aircraft carriers were, I knew with the Nimitz class I could recognize that, but I don't know the other two. If you guys knew those in that diorama, that would be cool if you could leave that in the comments. But that was my trip to Buffalo, New York, and I gotta be honest, like, it was cool to see the ships, but there was a lot that was kind of blocked off. Like, I feel like there was actually more to see on the destroyer than there was on the cruiser, which seems weird because the cruiser is supposed to be the main attraction. But still, highly recommend taking a trip out there if you can. Very, very cool to see, and you have to see these things in real life to believe it. So I hope that was enjoyable. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.